Please rise for the singing of our national anthem.
Oh, say, can you see by the dawn's early light what so proudly we hailed at the twilight's last gleaming, whose broad stripes and bright stars through the perilous fight o'er the ramparts we watched were so gallantly streaming, and the rocket's red glare, the bombs bursting in air, gave proof through the night that our flag was still there. Oh, say, does that star-spangled banner yet wave o'er the land of the free and the home of the brave?
Please be seated. Parents, families, faculty, administrators and staff, members of the Board of Trustees, honorary degree recipients and families, and members of the class of 2021, good morning and welcome to the College of the Holy Cross's 175th Commencement. The past 3 semesters have been tumultuous for us all, and yet the class of 2021 has persevered, overcome many challenges, and demonstrated remarkable resiliency. And like the 174 classes who have graduated before you, over the past 4 years, the studies you have undertaken, the research, writing, and presentations you have made, the retreats you have undergone, the work on the stage, playing field, or service you have performed, the friendships you have forged, the experiences at home and abroad you have shared, the difficulties you have faced, and the accomplishments we celebrate today will shape your lives forever. With all those watching online, we gather in joy and with pride to celebrate this milestone in your lives. And we hope that your new identity as alums of the College of the Holy Cross will bring you back to campus often and inspire you to share the gifts you have been given with those who follow you. And now let us begin our ceremony and join together in prayer for all that has been and all that is yet to come. Mary Beth Kearns Barrett, Director of the College Chaplains, will now lead us in prayer.
Let us pray. Creative and loving God, we gather today in gratitude for the abundant blessings of the past 4 years. We thank you for all those who have made this day possible for our graduating seniors, the parents and families who have worked and sacrificed, supported and believed, loved and delighted, the professors, mentors, and friends who have accompanied, challenged, and inspired, for the staff whose dedication makes this college the beautiful and nurturing place Holy Cross is, and for the wonderful body of scholars and dreamers whose works and ideas they have read, studied, and practiced. We recall our humble beginning, a small band of young men, a handful of Jesuit priests, Fenwick Hall, and a bold vision. We thank you, O God, for the way in which that vision has led us to a place where we can proclaim with love and pride that a liberal arts education at Holy Cross has at its heart the pursuit of knowledge and truth, faith and justice. And now, Lord, we pray for wisdom, now that our learning is well begun. We pray for insight, now that we have learned to be attentive. Now that we know something of justice, art, nature, society, and the human heart, we pray for a lifelong commitment to place our learning in the service of the great needs of our time. Through who we are, may your love be evident. Through what we do with our lives, may new visions emerge of a world where truth and justice prevail. We make our prayer in the spirit of your beloved, whose spirit of love draws us ever closer to you. Amen.
Quod bonum postumque sit, et republicae literarii bene vertat, collegii sanctae crucis societatis Iesu vigornii. Praeses et professores has literas inspectoris salutum praestant. Illud apud politiores gentes, veteri consuetudine invaluit, ut qui doctrinae laude praestant. Post studiorum immensum curriculum, solemni judicio, ad certus anodus avantanter gradus, quod insigne decus, studiisque fovendis adjumentum, ne huic nostro sanctae crucis societatis Iesu vigornii collegio deesset, sapienti republicae Massachusettensis concilio et auctoritati caudum est. Quare cum quisque studens studiis nauater paractis factoque periculo, scientia in segmen se nobis probaurit, et ei artium baccalaureatum, adque adjecta jura omnia et privilegia, decernimus attribuimusque, et rite ad episcentem hunc honorum grator, has in super cafarimos litteras, collegii sigillo nostraque mano firmatis, quae promerite colatique honoris certum legentibus fidem faciant, die vicesimo octavo Mai, anno bis millesimo vicesimo primo, Margaret N. Frigi Decana, Philip L. Burrows, Societatis Iesu Praeses. The following candidates will be awarded the degree Bachelor of Arts Honors. Matthew James Anderson, magna cum laude. Matthew Daniel Bouvier, magna cum laude. Jacob Victor Bucci, cum laude. Grace Catherine Burke, summa cum laude. Megan Erica Cooper, magna cum laude. Simon R. Corbett, magna cum laude. Evan David Crum, magna cum laude. Asia Gallagher Isles, summa cum laude. Emma Catherine Flanagan, magna cum laude. Madeline Bray Fontenay, summa cum laude. Clara Joy Gibson, cum laude. Cara Gilman, summa cum laude. Elizabeth Rose Goodman, summa cum laude. Kareem F. Hamada. Kyle Patrick Irvin, summa cum laude. Jordana B. Erzik, summa cum laude. Nanrawi Kitty Arsa, magna cum laude. Liam John Lewis. Paulina Hope Martin, summa cum laude. Monica Gabriela Martinez, magna cum laude. Rafaela Masha, summa cum laude. Rebecca Marie McSweeney, summa cum laude. Emily O'Regan, magna cum laude. Henry Wickham Casada, magna cum laude in absentia. John Patrick Rosenwinkel, magna cum laude. Sophia Christine Sorrow, magna cum laude. Noah Michael Shepherdson, magna cum laude. Graham Key Smith, magna cum laude. Daniel Mackenzie Tallman, magna cum laude. Kaylee Morgan Whiteside, summa cum laude. Anbo Wu, magna cum laude in absentia. Vaishnavi Reddy Alala, cum laude. The following candidates will be awarded the degree Bachelor of Arts: Russell John Abbott, Joseph Anthony Abalera, Sienna Nasari Ablor, James R. Addison, Motherlove Mano Agbertoko, Syed Tariq Alam, Cassandra May Albano, magna cum laude. Luna Teresa Alexis. Bridget Rose Alkin. Victoria Rhea Alianello. Jordan Alexander Alloway. Jennifer Almanza Matos. Catherine Almeida. Naceli Marie Alcina, cum laude. Emily Francis Ammon, magna cum laude. Luis Amesqua. Mairead May Anderson, magna cum laude. Margaret Jane Anderson. Stephen Robert Andrea. Matthew John Antisev. Andrew Robert Arena. Indiana Odette Argant. William Casey Armstrong. Sarah Elizabeth Arnold, summa cum laude. Doreen Foswa Aswako. Allison Jane Atia. Britt Keating Axelson, cum laude. Sarah Nicole Axon. Bradley Michael Baker. Hannah Elizabeth Baker, cum laude. Jenna Elizabeth Barnes, summa cum laude. Dana Virginia Borovich, cum laude. Thomas Barr. Ryan Edward Barrett, cum laude. Catherine Michelle Barrett, magna cum laude. Brian Francis Barry, magna cum laude. Michael Christopher Barsh, cum laude. Hunter Anthony Bartholomew. Luca Giuliani Basili. Kevin Isaac Baskind. Mark Anthony Battaglia. Megan Laura Bean. Gabrielle Vaughn Bolio, magna cum laude. Justin Edward Bella. Benjamin Neil Bellavance. Elena Louise Banassi, magna cum laude. Maxwell Scott Benford. Riley Joseph Benner in absentia. Caroline Ann Bennett, magna cum laude. John W. Bertram. Jeremiah Joseph Bielkowski. Sarah Ann Billis. Andrew James Bitar in absentia. Evan Scott Blum. Dylan Michael Blunk, magna cum laude. Peter W. Blunt. Dalton Cole Bodrow. Benjamin David Bogdan. Francis Laurent Bois. Christian Henning Bois, cum laude. Anne Kathleen Borsner, magna cum laude. Rimka Mary Bouvier, magna cum laude. Jack William Bowler. Fiona Frances Boyle. Michaela Sullivan Boyle, magna cum laude. Owen William Brady. Sydney Shed Brandt, magna cum laude. Aidan Clark Braun, magna cum laude. Courtney Elizabeth Breen, cum laude. Mackenzie E. Breen, cum laude. Edward J. Brennan III. Sean Michael Bresnahan. Maeve Catherine Bryn, cum laude. Jake Alexander Brophy. William Matthew Brown. Bernicia Ernest Brucius. Matthew P. Brush, in absentia. Mary Kate Francis Bucknam, magna cum laude. Madeline Lydia Bucco, cum laude. Chloe Caroline Burkett, cum laude. Catherine Deborah Jeffers Burns. Margaret Teresa Burns, magna cum laude. Victoria Joyce Burton. Liam Anthony Bascani. Austin John Butler, in absentia. Henry Patrick Byrne, magna cum laude. Estelle Francis Cadrain. Corden G. Callahan. Ryan Kramer Camille. Anna Elizabeth Rita Canada, magna cum laude. Kevin John Canny. Nicholas Michael Cantalupa, cum laude. Zoe Altera Caponegro, cum laude. Kendra Lee Caputo. Lisolo Caraballo, cum laude. Paul Raymond Carey. Ross Robert Carpenter. Paula A. Carrillo. Joseph Paul Caruba. Elizabeth Ann Casavant, cum laude. Christopher R. Cerulli, magna cum laude. Matthew Joshua Chaco. Michael Bracken Charla, magna cum laude. Angel Chavez. Kevin Chen, cum laude. Sit Cheng Chen, in absentia. Ting Chong, summa cum laude. Christina Marie Chaquette. Charles H. Christensen. Tyler Matthew Christensen, cum laude. Christopher Frederick Sishu, cum laude. Matthew Edward Silkowski, cum laude. Megan Ann Clow. Elise Patricia Cobb, cum laude. Molly Catherine Codian. Adriana Maria Coder, cum laude. Carolyn Joyce Cody, magna cum laude. Brendan Maurice Cogdell, in absentia. Paige Morstadt Cohen, summa cum laude. Isabel Marie Calesi. Lucy Elizabeth Coleman, cum laude. Nicholas Alexander Michaelis Conclu, cum laude. Anna T. Conlin, cum laude. Eleanor Brennan Conlin, magna cum laude. Morgan Elizabeth Conley. Margaret Hawkey Conley, cum laude. Helen Francis Conroy. Christina Yvonne Constantino. Darwin D. Contreras. Jasmine Contreras. Emily Rose Cook, magna cum laude. Kyle Robert Copeland. William C. Cornell. Kennedy Elizabeth Corrado. Juan Pablo Correa. Matthew Joseph Corrigan, cum laude, in absentia. Elise Maria Cortez. Matthew Joseph Kosu, cum laude. Andrew John Cravady Jr. Megan Elizabeth Creven. John Edward Creighton, cum laude. Thomas James Cremens, magna cum laude. Cassandra Marie Cronin, cum laude. Joseph Patrick Crowley, magna cum laude. Natalie Ann Crowley. Emily Newell Culbertson. Jason A. Cunha, cum laude, in absentia. Mary Catherine Cunningham. Patrick Searles Curley. Aiden John Curtis, in absentia. Daniel T. Danawi. Christina Conadu Darko, cum laude. Serbi Dariani, magna cum laude. Elizabeth Presti Daskalakis, magna cum laude. Lauren Rose Dory, cum laude. Anna Elizabeth Davis, cum laude. Caroline Dix Davis, cum laude. Emma Rose Davison, summa cum laude. Isabel Marie Dawson. Luke Riley Dawson. Rosario Dawson. Natalie Dunn DeCoste, magna cum laude. Connor Jude Dagenhart. Valentin De Jesus. Alfonso Randy Dallagila. Elizabeth Ann DeLuca, magna cum laude. Samuel George DeMayo. Emily Claire Damaso, cum laude. Daniel John Dempsey. Jack B. Dennehy. Jackson T. Dennis, in absentia. Lauren E. Dentinger, magna cum laude. Aiden P. Dermody. Tara Marie Datels, cum laude. Emily Page Devine, summa cum laude. Lily Josephine DiDomenico. Joey Yuching Dillon. Dominic James Dimitrov, cum laude. Dana Collins Donardo. Molly Elaine Dion, cum laude. Grace Mary Dorn, summa cum laude. Joseph Patrick Dorr. Megan Grattan Donahue, cum laude. Danielle D. Doria, magna cum laude. Madeline Reed Downey, magna cum laude. Timothy Anthony Doyle. Janelle Lynn Drake, cum laude. Abigail J. Dresser. Lily Blake Drosh. Kate Carol Drahosky. Shannon Nicole Dudek. John Patrick Dudley, cum laude. Paniotis Michael Dudinakis. Sean Bailey Duffy. Luke Christian Dufour. Andrew Mark Dumaresque, summa cum laude. Liam Glynn Dvorak, cum laude. Shannon Rose Dwyer, magna cum laude. Sylvester Dwyer. Grace Nicole Ebel. Carolyn Victoria Eckrich. Mark William Edwards. Kevin Pascual Plateros Elaba, cum laude. Matthew Joseph Ilacqua, magna cum laude. Christopher William Epting, cum laude. Joseph Michael Erdl, magna cum laude. Matthew William Fagan. Elizabeth Hurley Farity. Aislinn Mary Familetti, cum laude. Sihan Fan, in absentia. Matthew James Finelli. Anna Patricia Fantazzi, cum laude. Caleb Anthony Farr. Janae Noel Faulkner, in absentia. Matthew William Faw. Evo James Fernley. Michael Anthony Federico. Olivia Gwen Madeline Fenty. Jennifer Farad. Logan Dean Ferguson, magna cum laude. Amanda Costa Fernandez. Olivia Grace Ferrick, cum laude, in absentia. Georgia K. Fuel, cum laude. Tabitha Kelsey Fields. Milagros Stephanie Figueroa, in absentia. Sophie Catherine Finnerty, cum laude. Kevin Thomas Fisher, cum laude. Jacob Lewis Fisher, cum laude. Sydney Fisher, magna cum laude. Caroline Pauline Fittal, cum laude. Catherine Mary Fitzgerald, cum laude. Noah Robert Fitzgerald. Claire Grace Fitzpatrick, cum laude. Bridget Kelly Flaherty, cum laude. Erin Michelle Flaherty, cum laude. Peter Gavin Flaherty III. Brian Francis Foley. Lawrence J. Foley. Ryan Daniel Foley, magna cum laude, in absentia. Mary Catherine Forbes, magna cum laude. Evan Christopher Formasano. Claire Marie Fox, magna cum laude. Amanda Kaylin Fradsham. Catherine Ann Franco. Nicolette G. Frasco, magna cum laude. Caroline Renee Fredericks, summa cum laude. Olivia Marie Frederick. Tilda Akosua Adoma Fridua. Maeve Alexina French. Danielle Alexis Fucci, in absentia. Adam Fung, in absentia. Alexa Tate Fernari. Genevieve Galarno, summa cum laude. Mary Kathleen Gallagher. Tess Elizabeth Gallant. Damian Anthony Galati, in absentia. Jose Maria Garcia Chope, cum laude. Dylan J. Garland. James N. Gary, magna cum laude, in absentia. Julia Lauren Gaspari, cum laude. Ryan Michael Gemelli, cum laude. Margaret Elizabeth Gentile. Marissa George, cum laude. Richard Maxim George, cum laude. Gabriel M. Gervais. Dane Joseph Gassang. Ryan Khalid Ghanem. Ryan Ferris Gifford. Charles Robert Gillis. Gabrielle Elena Joya. Luke Christopher Juntali, summa cum laude. Joseph Michael Goddard, cum laude. Maura Vega Gonzalez, in absentia. Anthony Luis Gonzalez. Oscar Gonzalez. Hope B. Goodman, magna cum laude. Grace Windsor Goodwin, cum laude. Kevin Christopher Gorman. Nicole Elizabeth Gould, cum laude. Benjamin Edward Grant, magna cum laude. Caitlin Mary Grant, magna cum laude. Isabel Elena Grant. Deanne Rebecca Grotsky. Elizabeth Hughes Graves. Janaya Denise Green. Jacob Christopher Greer. Elizabeth Teresa Griffin, summa cum laude. William Charles Griffin. Mackenzie Ann Griffith. William Patrick Grimes, magna cum laude. Emma O'Connor Grugan, cum laude. Adriana Wadana Huizar, cum laude. Catherine Elizabeth Guancy. Rachel Marie Guay, cum laude. Anna F. Guggenheim, cum laude. Alyssa Maria Gutierrez. Yesenia Gutierrez. Abigail Catherine Hadlock, magna cum laude. Christopher Blake Heiler. Adam Ralph Hall. Audrey Elise Hammerl. Christopher John Hans II, cum laude. Alexandra Alice Hanlon. Claire V. Hanlon. Haley Elizabeth Hanstead. Rachel Elizabeth Harding, magna cum laude. Abby Josephine Harris, cum laude. Maharet Hein Hassenu. Jessica Lynn Hastings, magna cum laude. Matthew T. Hauber. Liam Patrick Hayes. Christian Haynes, in absentia. Sophia Haywood. John Aiden Healy. Catherine A. Hegemiller, magna cum laude, in absentia. Sean Taylor Henry. Ethan C. Hensley, magna cum laude. Brenda Hernandez. Graydon Mapes Hewitt, summa cum laude. Joshua Tyrone Hicks. Liam Henry Higgins. Mason Samuel Hill. Julia Ann Hinton. Jacob Adam Hirschberger, magna cum laude. Nathan Gregory Hogue. Elizabeth N. Hodgman, magna cum laude. Emma Catherine Holland, magna cum laude. Bailey Siegfried Holman, summa cum laude. John Lawson Holmgren III, magna cum laude. Catherine Ann Holmquist. Claire Margaret Honan, magna cum laude. Christopher William Hornbuckle. Robert Irving Horowitz, summa cum laude. Hannah Jean Horton. Madison Elizabeth Howland. Chanel Hudson, cum laude, in absentia. Thomas James Huffman. Robert Edward Hunter III, cum laude. Jack T. Hurley, cum laude, in absentia. Michael G. Houston. Henry Eric Vidston. Mahmoud Khalil Ibrahim. Grace Kelly Ingram. Patrick V. Iorio. Hayden Paul Ivitz, magna cum laude. Jordan Blake Jackson. Joseph F. Jalbert, summa cum laude. Isabella Josephina Jankowski. Celia Coyne Jarmock, magna cum laude. Michael Philip Jaskalevich. Bethania Ebenessa Jimenez, cum laude. Colin W. Johansson. Amber Celeste John, magna cum laude. Alexander Neil Johnson, in absentia. Hannah Lynn Johnson, magna cum laude. Leif Emerson Johnson, cum laude. Mackenzie Rose Jordan, summa cum laude. David Andrew Kale, magna cum laude. Catherine Rose Khalil, cum laude. William W. Kampfman. Ioli Caragiorgio, cum laude. William R. Kaspari, magna cum laude. Caitlin Elizabeth Keaveney. Gianna Demetria Kafalis, magna cum laude. Catherine Elizabeth Ann Kelleher, cum laude. Catherine Kelly, cum laude. Sean Patrick Kelly. Vanessa Mary Kelly, summa cum laude. Natalie Ann Kempton, cum laude. Matthew Armstrong Kennelly, cum laude. Garrett Austin Keogh, magna cum laude. Katie Nicole Cairns, magna cum laude. Patrick James Kerrigan, in absentia. Peter Hayworth Kessel, cum laude. Siobhan Elizabeth Kiernan, cum laude. Sharon Bridget King. Jonathan Miguel Klinker. Jeffrey Francis Knight. Kendrick A. Knight. Minka A. Coleman, magna cum laude. Macklin John Cordabine. Kyle S. Kowalski. Nathan Michael Kramer. Isabella Catherine Cronow. Louisa Margaret Culp. Jenna Rose Leahy. Bryant C. Lai. Molly Lambo. Megan Elizabeth Langto, cum laude. Eric Alexander Lane. Matthew Douglas Lane, cum laude. Joseph Peter Richard Lang. Aiden Timmis Largy. Elizabeth Brooke Larkin. Brianna Rose Leonard. John Joseph Leahy III. Seth John Learned, in absentia. Renee Catherine LeBlanc. Charles Daly Leclerc, cum laude. Maya Danielle Lee Chin, magna cum laude. Kyle A. Leffler, magna cum laude. Sage Emily Limer. Kelly Lentosky. Jason Leone. Ryan William Laterno. Sophia Anna Latieri. Michael Isaiah Lewis. Patrick Gerard Lewis, magna cum laude. Hui L. Lee, magna cum laude. Pei Yu Lee, magna cum laude, in absentia. Lee Si Seong, cum laude. Jia Chi Liang. Mary Catherine Liebers. Emma Catherine Liskoff, cum laude. Samuel Thomas Lively. Simeon E. Lloyd Wingard, in absentia. Daniel Christian Locke. Connor Price Lober. Grace Catherine Longwell, summa cum laude. Eric P. Lopes. Citlali Lopez. Juliana Antonia Lopez Picardi. Keyston T. Lowry. Noah Aaron Luckenbaugh. Andrew Glenn Ludwig, summa cum laude. Katrina Deanna Lugley, cum laude. James Peter Lunny, magna cum laude. Angela Maria Lynch, magna cum laude. Edward F. Lynch IV, cum laude. John Kelly Lynch. Michael Gregory Lynch. Helena Marie Lyons. Kira Crimson McEnany. Catherine Elizabeth McQuaig. Megan Hampton MacDonald. Marina Rose McKinnon, cum laude. Misha Ann Macy, cum laude. Steve Magana Ramirez. Andrew Thomas Magel. Emily Patricia Marr, magna cum laude. Carrie Helene Malatesta. Nicholas Patrick Malone. Trisala Manandar. Nathan Daniel Manna. Grace Dorothea Manning. Christina Manjari, magna cum laude. Mitchell Robert Marcinowskis. Caitlin Josephine Marple. Michael James Martins, in absentia. Katerina Marinovna Martin. Lorena Martinez. Jacob Ryan Mastrandria, magna cum laude. Antonia Matska, cum laude. Kieran Robinson Maynard. Mia Teresa Maza. Elizabeth Ann Mazzacco, cum laude. Grace Mazzacco. Brendan Patrick McCabe. Kenneth Robert McCauley. Adeline Rose McCullough. Shannon Marie McDermott. Jacob Michael McDonald. Luke Patrick McDonald. Sydney Paige McDonald. Willem John McGee, cum laude. John Paul McGrath. Samuel Joseph McGrath. Sean Philip McGrath. Roger Larkin McGuire. Tara Elizabeth McGuire, cum laude. Tara Janice McHugh. Christine Elizabeth McLaughlin, cum laude. John J. McLaughlin, Jr. Kathleen Francis McLaughlin, summa cum laude. Thomas Patrick McLaughlin. Courtney S. McMullen. Gavin Dennis McNamara. Sean Bernard McNamara. Perla Mena Morales. Samantha Nicole Menino. Emily Elizabeth Mercier, magna cum laude. Cassandra Marino Muniz. Olivia Falvey Messina. Cameron Douglas Meyer. Bianca Rose McColas, summa cum laude. Isabella Marie Michael Rizzai. Sean U. Mikovits. Logan Timothy Milliken. Peter Cole Mitchell, cum laude. Anna Catherine Moffitt. Shabnam Mohammed Zarif, cum laude. Abby Amakwa Makwa, cum laude. Krista J. Moore. Nicholas Martin Moore, cum laude. Lauren Bridget Moran. Megan Gail Moran, magna cum laude. Zachary E. Morin. Robert Michael Maurizio. Anna Geary Morris. Aistar A. Moya. John D. Mucci, magna cum laude. Eddie Muyan. Catherine Austin Mullen, cum laude. Patrick P. Mullen. Phelan D. Muller. Patrick Thomas Mullery. Haley Lauren Mulville, magna cum laude. Alex Murphy, cum laude. Connor Francis Murphy. John James Murphy. Shannon M. Murphy, magna cum laude. Thomas Joseph Murray, magna cum laude. Molly Hannah Nadell, cum laude. Dean Douglas Nagel. Victoria Evelyn Nash. Tiernan Joseph Naughton. Alexis Alfonso Navarro. Alexandra Rose Nazaro, cum laude. Alejandra Erica Negron. Liam M. Neville, in absentia. Nina Nok Win. John Drew Lawrence Nolan. Spencer Philip Notariani. Kenna Grace O'Brien, cum laude. Nicholas Andrew O'Bricky. Juliana Reina Ocampo, cum laude. Owen Andrew O'Connell. Grace O'Connor, cum laude. Kate E. O'Donnell, cum laude. Margaret Tully O'Hagan, cum laude. Olufunmilowo Johanna Ojo. Matthew Thomas O'Keefe, Jr., magna cum laude. Megan Elizabeth O'Keefe, summa cum laude. Patrick Joseph O'Keefe. Ali Karen Olson, in absentia. Olivia Damon Olson, magna cum laude. Catherine Bridget O'Malley, cum laude. Morgan Victoria O'Malley. Nicholas Mark O'Neill, in absentia. Sandra Noemi Oriana. Sarah Leslie O'Rourke, magna cum laude. Mary Grace O'Shea. Catherine M. O'Sullivan. Kelly Megan O'Sullivan. Jillian Marie O'Toole, magna cum laude. Ryan S. O'Toole, cum laude, in absentia. Molly Olivia Oyer, summa cum laude. Ricky Alexander Pabon. Teresa Carol Palladino. Taylor A. Panagakis, magna cum laude. Jake Thomas Papalardo. Ali Marie Paquette. Ryan David Park. Christelle Meredith Rafaela Paul, cum laude. Aiden Thomas Pearsall. Jacob Noah Pelzinski Kunda, magna cum laude, in absentia. Julia Marie Pelletier. Grace I. Peluso. Arlene Balasi Pena, Ronald Francisco Pena, Helen Margaret Pepin, Anderson Scott Perry, Christopher Stewart Peterson, Caitlin Elizabeth Peterson, Stephanie Ann Petrus cum laude, Lauren Elizabeth Pettengill, Annie T. Fon, Non Nok Fon, magna cum laude in absentia, Samuel Phelan, Connor William Phillips, Kathleen E. Philo, Michael Allen Pache, Matthew Joseph Pekarchik cum laude, Gabriel Michael Pieper-Gertis, Connor Patrick Pijanowski summa cum laude, Justin Kyle Pijanowski, Karina Pliego Vergara, Grace Conchetta Palestina, Robert Benjamin Poon in absentia, Ryan Christopher Powell, Redmond Scott Pulver, Paige Nicole Pusateri, Kristen Chaco, Naji D. Kwashi, Mia Heffernan Quigley, Joseph P. Raccio, Gaetano Joseph Ragusa cum laude, can we hurry them up, Michelle? Nalani Ramos Ruiz, Alana Claire Radigan, Evan Robert Realbuto cum laude, Lily Ann Reed, Mary Grace Regan cum laude, Jillian E. Reed cum laude, Teresa Ann Riley summa cum laude, Camden Avery Richter cum laude, Caitlin Mary Riley magna cum laude, Jose Leonardo Rivas, Jonathan Joseph Rivera, Marie Janine Robert, James Patrick Robertson in absentia, Emily Kate Rodricks magna cum laude, Heather Lindsay Rowell cum laude, Mercedes Anissa Ruiz, Hunter Cole Russell cum laude, Leanne Yu-Ying Ryan cum laude, Lily Margaret Ryan, Michelle Ann Sacco cum laude, Caroline Diane Saley, Brendan Lochran Sanders, Emily Ellen Santis, Adam James Saunders, magna cum laude in absentia, Hunter High Saxton cum laude, Lauren E. Schoenwolf cum laude, John Robinson Schwartz, Dane Edward Scott magna cum laude, Carson Rose Seeger, Harrison Patrick Seitz, Andrew William Salima magna cum laude, Valerie Elizabeth Shea, summa cum laude. Lindsay Marie Shea. Patrick James Shea. Gabriella Lynn Shelzy. Yingon Shu. Sarah Marie Shorter, magna cum laude. Mandusa Sidibe. Andrew Dylan Sasitsky. Noah Wayne Sis, cum laude. Andrew A. Suda. Emma Lauren Felicia Skamersky. John Collins Slania, magna cum laude. Matthew Robert Solowinski. Alexandra Talavera Smith. Emerson Nicole Smith. Eve Hayoung Smith. Lily M. Sneesby, magna cum laude. James Tyler Solberg. Gatrix Sissa Solo. Talia R. Spirito, magna cum laude. Jill S. Spurk, cum laude. Caroline Elizabeth Stanton. Maria R. Stolinovich. Robert R. Stone II. Olivia Ing Streeman. Graham Harvey Struthers. Brendan Quinn Stewart. Ashley Suhita. Emily Rose Sullivan. Joseph McKenna Sullivan. Seth Robert Sullivan, cum laude. William Marcus Sullivan. Yiven Sun, in absentia. Aiden Joseph Suttlehan, cum laude. John Patrick Sweeney, cum laude. Peter Sweeney, in absentia. Samantha Marie Sweet. Nicholas Mark Taliento, magna cum laude. Victoria Ann Terra, cum laude. Shannon Patrick Tarrant, cum laude. Bianca Taylor Tatum. Nicholas R. Teixeira, cum laude. Jose Miguel Tenorio Villagomez. Harrison Craig Thayer. Frank Doyle Thompson. Nicole Main Tiberio, magna cum laude. Elizabeth Grace Timmons. Matthew James Tomlinson. Fernando L. Torralba, in absentia. Jasmine Torres, in absentia. Sophia Kathleen Torres Kennedy. Matthew James Trailer. Zui V. Chun. Matthew Robert Trimbulac, cum laude. Jenna Elizabeth Tubby, cum laude. Eamon Joseph Tubridy. William Doyle Tubridy. Libby Hall Turco. Philip John Turner. Zachary Kevin Turner. Lindsay Ty. Caitlin Grace Zimeratis. Sophie Elizabeth Van Severin, magna cum laude. Matthew C. Verano. Matthew Vecchiarelli. Olivia Nicole Venezia, cum laude. Omar Jesus Spielpando. Elizabeth Marie Wade, cum laude. Molly Elizabeth Wagner, cum laude. Thomas Martin Walshenbach. Alexandra B. Whalen. Haley Elizabeth Walker, magna cum laude. Allison Jean Walsh, magna cum laude. John Ryan Walsh. C. Wong, cum laude, in absentia. Grace Margaret Ward. Madison Ann Ward. Kristen Catherine Weber, cum laude. William Henry Ware, cum laude. Bridget Eileen Welpley, magna cum laude. Christian Kaikea Wilinski. Jasmine Renee Williams. Andrew Adam Williamson. Ian Daniel Williamson, cum laude. Catherine Adele Kiplock Wynn, magna cum laude. Emily Ann Wogelius. Jennifer Wolf. Emma Mariana Wood, cum laude. Catherine Marie Woodley. Christina Catherine Wright, cum laude. Jacob McKeel Wright. Timmy Zebin Wu, in absentia. Brandon Michael Whiteson. Ron Chao Young, summa cum laude, in absentia. Seng En Yang, in absentia. Yun Song Yong, summa cum laude, in absentia. Catherine Courtney Zachary, magna cum laude. Mu Kong Zong, in absentia.
Members of the class of 2021, like you, I am also preparing to leave the College of the Holy Cross. And I know that none of us expected to be ending our tenure here after 14 months of responding to a global pandemic, which has required remote learning and great economic upheaval. Nor did we anticipate that racism and violence, which sadly have always tarnished our republic, would erupt so intensely this year, and that our national elections would be so polarizing, and that global warming and environmental sustainability would become so obviously threatening. The impact of these diverse challenges have significantly affected our consciousness and our way of living and studying. But these unprecedented events have also stimulated much greater reflectivity, required of us more intense search for ways of living and serving our world with greater intentionality, and have called us to be active agents who will transform our society and our world into a more just, compassionate, and sustainable home. As you discern your next steps and assume greater responsibility for your lives and work, you have received an education which will help you to understand and respond to the challenges facing our country and our world. You have been educated to be ethical and active global citizens, and you have been offered spiritual and faith-filled resources to sustain you in your work and family lives. The values of a Holy Cross education have never been more important, and our world has never needed citizens and leaders such as you. As you and I leave this sacred place, let us go forward in hope, knowing that we have what we need to make a difference, that we will always have this community to return to, and that our loving God will give us what we require to transform our world in ways which reflect God's deepest desires for us all. Thank you. And now it is my privilege to introduce your remarkable 2021 valedictorian, Emma Davison. From West Caldwell, New Jersey, Emma is a double major in political science and Middle Eastern studies with a concentration in peace and conflict studies. In the fall of 2019, Emma participated in Middlebury College's Arabic language program in Amman, Jordan. And in the spring of 2020, she was the student coordinator of the Washington semester program. Emma is a Dana Scholar, a Desmarais Scholar, a member of National Political Science Honor Society Pi Sigma Alpha, and president of the Jesuit Honor Society Alpha Sigma Nu. She has been a Weiss Summer Research Assistant and a Math Department Teaching Assistant. She is the chair of Pax Christi. She is a multicultural peer educator, the Summer and Fall Gateways Orientation Leader, the Civitas Community Leader Coordinator, and creator of the Hadwin Park LGBTQIA Asylum Task Force documentary, and a Mustard Seed Catholic Worker volunteer. After graduation, Emma will begin working as a government relations associate with L3 Harris Technologies in Washington, D.C., where she will also continue to study Arabic at the Middle East Institute. Eventually, Emma plans to go to graduate school to study evolving threats to international stability, including the climate crisis and nuclear proliferation. Please welcome our 2021 class valedictorian, Emma Davison.
Ambassador Thomas-Greenfield, Dr. Collins, President Burrows, Provost Frigi, Dean Paco, members of the Board of Trustees, honored guests, faculty and staff, parents, relatives and friends, fellow members of the class of 2021. I'm so grateful to be in such good company at such a wonderful place this morning. In one of my Arabic courses, my professor distinguished between two types of translation: tarjima mubashara, direct translation, and tarjima al-thaqafiyya, cultural translation. Direct translation is exact, a formulaic approach to finding meaning in the unfamiliar. Cultural translation, however, lacks rules for memorization. It, instead, demands experience. Luckily, I learned this while sitting in a classroom in Amman, Jordan. So I embraced Jordanian music, food, history, and contemporary culture. I learned Arab recipes alongside my host mother, Noha, discussed world religion with my host father, Nasser, roamed the Wadi Rum desert with native Bedouins, danced the traditional dubka with Jordanian friends, even successfully hitchhiked back from the Roman ruins of Jerash. With time, I was able to draw on these experiences as tools in translation assignments. Previously daunting colloquial or religious references were no longer unfamiliar, as they were part of my beloved reality. When we decided to attend the College of the Holy Cross, there was a clear, direct translation for our intended outcome, receiving a degree from this institution. We've achieved that concrete aim today. The cultural translation for what we gained from our time here on Mount St. James, however, is far from formulaic. If we were to attempt to explain what these diplomas mean to someone unfamiliar with our experiences, we would need to take great care in detailing our beloved reality. The college has referenced experiential learning countless times over the past 4 years, a consistent nudge that we commit to expanding our understanding of what it means to be a Holy Cross student. Now, to express what it means to be a member of the class of 2021, to have that cultural competence, we have to understand the plurality of our diverse learning experiences. Each of us has specific moments, classrooms, activities, and people that add great meaning to our degree. Whether it be the dine-in reading room or our favorite science library cubicle, the random roommate turned long-term friend, or the classmate turned late-night study partner, the professor who challenged our assumptions, the chaplain who expanded our understanding of faith, the Worcester community partner who ignited our commitment to social responsibility, or the coach who motivated us to refine our skills. I'm reminded of the extensive opportunities at Holy Cross every time I hear the passion in my roommates' voices as they talk about virology or ordinary differential equations or cognitive neuroscience. They've refined competencies I can just barely scratch the surface of, unlocking intellectual worlds that their translations depend on. There is power in knowing that we don't know everything about a place. Moving forward, knowing that the impact and experiences of the class of 2021 are far-reaching and diverse. We each have 4 years of Holy Cross somethings, somewheres, and someones that have altered our beloved reality. I'm not sure what I thought it would feel like to graduate from Holy Cross, but it is strange that this moment, one we pondered in slight disbelief would ever arrive beyond the laundry list of opportunities and the ever-present academic coursework, is now reality. We each found a place for ourselves in this ivy-covered landscape. We found belonging spending more time than planned with friends at Kimball tables, reading scripture in St. Joseph's Chapel, bowing after a successful opening night of the musical or midnight theater performance in the pit, multitasking team bonding with study sessions on bus rides back from games, tutoring or serving meals in the Worcester community, strategizing with an e-board for our next RSO event in Hogan, or even tucked away in a Boulevard diner booth, waiting for late-night pancakes and French fries. In our communal reckoning with present and historical injustice, we've learned that spaces of genuine belonging are spaces dedicated to diversity, equity, and inclusion. And in turn, we've demanded more of ourselves, of our classmates, of our campus, and of the wider community. We've become part of the cultural translation, integral facets of an institution that once caught our interest so greatly, we decided to attend it. At times, we've carried our Holy Cross experience a little further, throughout the country to immersion sites, to New York or Washington for semester internships, overseas to study in any country we felt called to our hometowns, waiting eagerly for that invitation to return, even to nights braving the cold, standing in line outside of Compass or Canal. When we commit to upholding what we've learned it means to be a Holy Cross student, our actions become a living prayer of what we have learned here. When we are eager to experience, when we choose to learn in community with others, the capacity for abounding joy at a small college on a hill proliferates. It may sound naive to focus so adamantly on joy after the events of the past year, but I know we recognize all that we have endured. We have each felt great sadness, frustration, and uncertainty. And today, I want to focus on everything that is not that. I choose to illuminate the joy I know persists because I believe that our Holy Cross experience will translate, above all else, to the joy that we found here. Such joy redefines. A residence hall becomes the 8th wonder of the world. A Montserrat project becomes foundational to future plans. An off-campus apartment becomes an arena for absurd shenanigans. Holy Cross sunsets become the greatest reminder to pause at the end of busy days. The city of Worcester becomes our city. The invitation to experiential learning, the opportunity for living prayer that extends beyond our time at Holy Cross, it will extend beyond our time here. When a transformative change occurs, like graduating, the question of where do we go from here often arises. Such a question need not be elusive, but inviting. An invitation to engage with the world around us, to experience with devotion, with intention, and with joy. If we commit to accepting this invitation, the translation of our resultant experiences will swell, and joy will endure. We'll one day be on the receiving end of the question, what was Holy Cross like when you were here? Then we'll be tasked with attempting to encapsulate all of our Holy Cross somewheres, someones, and somethings with brevity. The plurality of our defining experiences, however, might just make it so that our most effective cultural translation is that we were one part of this collective, you had to be there moment. We'll see the impact we had on this place. We'll feel the impact it's had on us. And we'll know that that impact is enduring and it is joyful. Thank you, shukran jazilan lakum, for being critical to the translation of our beloved reality.
Visionary chief executive, generous public health leader, extraordinary servant to vulnerable communities. Dr. Michael Collins, you have dedicated your career to improving the lives of others through higher education and healthcare. You led Caritas Christi healthcare system to become the second largest healthcare system in New England. You have overseen one of the nation's most entrepreneurial and highly regarded medical schools through the complexity of a pandemic, while also implementing measures to improve diversity and inclusion on your campus. You have generously and expertly helped to guide the Higher Education Consortium of central Massachusetts and the city of Worcester through the COVID-19 pandemic. You came to Holy Cross in 1973 from nearby Walpole, Massachusetts. You earned your medical degree from Tufts University School of Medicine, and your practical training led to a series of faculty and administrative positions. In 1994, you were asked to become president and CEO of the nonprofit Caritas Christi Healthcare System and president of St. Elizabeth's Medical Center of Boston. Under your leadership, Caritas Christi grew to become the second largest healthcare system in New England, serving poor communities and caring for all individuals with dignity and respect. You returned to higher education in 2005 to become the president of the University of Massachusetts, Boston, where you strengthened ties between the school and the local Dorchester community and increased the profile of the campus. In 2007, you were named interim chancellor of the University of Massachusetts Medical School. And the following year, you were named chancellor of the medical school and senior vice president of health sciences for the University of Massachusetts system. In this role, you oversee an incredibly complex academic and research organization, including Commonwealth Medicine, a consulting division that seeks to broaden access and care to vulnerable populations, and Mass Biologics, the nation's only nonprofit, university-based, FDA-licensed discoverer and manufacturer of vaccines and other biologics. Your commitment to justice and to serving vulnerable communities is always at the forefront. During the ongoing COVID-19 pandemic, you established the Vaccine Corps program with more than 7,000 volunteers statewide to bring COVID-19 vaccinations to groups and communities where people need them most. You have made diversity, equity, and inclusion a core value for your organization and are seeking ways to address the public health impacts of racism. A devoted son of Holy Cross, you have served as a member and chair of our Board of Trustees. You and Mary Ellen watch both of your children, Michael, class of '07, and Elizabeth, class of '09, graduate from the college, and your mentorship of Holy Cross alumni physicians is legendary. That all may know of our great esteem for you and our strong support for your generous leadership in educating skilled and ethical physicians, broadening access to high-quality healthcare in Massachusetts, and responding to the COVID-19 pandemic, the College of the Holy Cross confers upon you this day the degree Doctor of Public Administration, honoris causa.
Father Burrows, thank you very much for your leadership of our college. Chair Patterson and members of the Board of Trustees, faculty and staff of the college, family and friends of the graduates, fellow graduates. He sat in the stands right there. She was on the stage right here. They were everywhere. He was my father from the Holy Cross class of 1939, whose brain was riddled with tumor the last time he was at Fitton Field. She was Mother Teresa, now a saint, who in 1976 came to this campus to be honored at the commencement ceremony. They were the Jesuits, faculty, and staff of Holy Cross, imbued with the charism of St. Ignatius, who are the stewards of our education and the mission of our beloved college, and who carried on Ignatian values to this day. In 1977, I received my first degree from Holy Cross. It was a most special day. For you see, my start as a student had not been that great. As a chemistry major and pre-med, doing well in my first chemistry class was an imperative. As Professor Martin returned the first exam to each student, he folded the book in half. As I unfolded the papers, I saw a red penciled 48 at the top of the page. Turning to my classmate sitting next to me, I showed him the grade. And with cocksure pleasure, I exclaimed, "Must have been out of 50. Turning disappointedly towards me, he exclaimed, "I don't think so. I got a 52. Clearly, there was nowhere to go but up. And the 4 years that followed were among the most special of my life. You see, I came to Holy Cross with the singular goal of getting into medical school. While Holy Cross was instrumental in my achieving that objective, as I reflect on my education and the privilege it has been to care for and about so many, I realized that I received so much more. Professors Velaccio, McMaster, and Vitalich taught chemistry. But Professor Susan Waldbauer taught me about the symphonies movements. Father Riboli introduced me to Cubism, Impressionism, and Mies van der Rohe's architectural belief that form should follow function. And Father Paris was the first to challenge me about Reinhold Niebuhr's views on the allocation of a scarce resource. The grandeur of Dinan Library exuded the importance of literature. Kimball taught the essence of community. The Heart Center celebrated athletics and wellness. St. Joseph's Chapel became a source of prayerful solace and consolation. And it was in that chapel, in moments of reflection, on the day before my medical school acceptance letter would be mailed, that I committed to a life of service to others, and where I pledged that I would always help a member of the Holy Cross community who needed advice, counsel, or care. In fidelity with those promises, I continue this day to aspire to be a person for others. But during that majestic day in 1977, where I sat where you sit today, I began my appreciation of the gift it was to attend a college whose name bore witness to the very foundations of our Catholic faith. For on that holy cross, the Lord did not exclaim, "Why me?" Rather, he proclaimed, "For you." Today, it is with profound humility that I'm accorded the extraordinary privilege to receive a second Holy Cross degree. In this moment, I reflect with greater importance, a greater appreciation of the importance of Holy Cross. In the challenges we face today in our world, we need Holy Cross and its graduates. Be it for the poor in spirit, those who mourn, are meek, ill, or are wounded. During the time of a pandemic and beyond, can we respond that we are here for you? Be it for the hungry or those who thirst, are homeless or in jail, here in our city of Worcester and far beyond, can we respond, we care for you? For those who are persecuted, insulted, and in need of peace today, on our own streets in America, and wherever injustice prevails throughout our world, can we promote justice and act in a way that is for you? My mother and father gave me everything they could to support my dreams. Your parents are doing the same. Be sure this day to say thank you and I love you. Engraved on the bench just outside the Hogan Center is a phrase my mother coined. First you have to want to, then you can. As you embark on the next chapters of your lives, if you want to, you can respond to St. Ignatius's call to serve others. It was very special for Mary Ellen and me on the days when our son Michael and our daughter Elizabeth graduated from Holy Cross. But you see, I would have given anything to have my father present on my graduation day. For in one of the greatest parenting moments I shall ever know, on a day when I awaited college admittances from other institutions and received none, he said, as we drove onto Linden Lane, Holy Cross will be good for you, and you will be good for Holy Cross. Holy Cross has been so good to me. I have time yet to fulfill his further wisdom. I encourage you to join me in that journey. St. Teresa of Calcutta, a diminutive and faith-filled woman, often said, I'm not sure exactly what heaven will be like, but I know that when we die and it comes time for God to judge us, he will not ask, how many good things have you done in your life? Rather, he will ask, how much love did you put in to what you did? When in service to others you act, will those actions be known for their love? Fathers Burroughs, McFarland, Brooks, Miller, Fahey, McDonald, Hart, Dunn, Manning, Harmon, Hayes, Lapamata, Markey, and so many other Jesuits, like Ignatius, have prayed in the company of Jesus. Lord, teach me to be generous. Teach me to serve others as you deserve, to give and not to count the cost, to fight and not to heed the wounds, to toil and not to seek for rest, to labor and not to ask for reward, except to know that I am doing your will. In your thoughts, actions, and prayers, as women and men for others, what are the gifts you shall give in furtherance of that will? I trust Holy Cross has been good to you. Bring love to your actions for others. Be humble in doing God's will. And always be good to Holy Cross. Today, in the presence of the Holy Cross, as you leave this field and embark upon your life's journey, imbued with your Holy Cross education, in what way will you proclaim, "I do this for you"? Ad Maiorem Dei Gloriam. Congratulations.
Our second recipient of an honorary degree is not with us, but she will appear in a moment on the screen to your right. I'm going to read her citation, and then she will be here with us. Champion of democracy, tireless defender of respect and rights for all people, compassionate relationship builder, and master of diplomacy. Ambassador Linda Thomas-Greenfield, you have made your life's work to improve the lives of vulnerable and marginalized people around the world. You have faced adversity and hostility with humility and compassion, always maintaining a sense of hope. Your renowned ability to bring people together and to build deep relationships has provided your foundation for navigating humanitarian crises and contentious geopolitical issues. You were raised in Baker, Louisiana, a small town in the Deep South, by parents who instilled in you the values of hard work and kindness. You attended segregated schools and regularly witnessed racist acts such as the burning of crosses in your neighbors' yards. The first member of your family to attend college, you chose to attend Louisiana State University as one of the first wave of black students who were admitted due to a federal court mandate. After earning your master's degree at the University of Wisconsin and teaching political science at Bucknell University, you realized your dream of joining the Foreign Service in 1982. You joined the country's diplomatic corps at a time when most of your colleagues were white males. You were posted in Switzerland, Pakistan, Kenya, the Gambia, Nigeria, and Jamaica, and served in multiple roles in Washington. In 2008, you were appointed ambassador to Liberia, where despite the end of civil war and recent free election, mob violence, ritualistic killings, violence against women, child abuse, and racial and ethnic discrimination remained. You returned to the United States to become Director General of the Foreign Service and Director of Human Resources, where you were able to nurture your passion for diversifying the diplomatic corps and mentoring students toward lives of public service. In 2013, you were named Assistant Secretary of State for African Affairs, where you led efforts to improve governance and democracy while prioritizing human rights and LGBTQ issues in sub-Saharan Africa. In your distinguished 35 years in the Foreign Service, you were faced with innumerable human rights atrocities, the Ebola epidemic, and the devastation of civil wars. All the while you sought to bring people together over a shared meal of Louisiana gumbo to remind them of their common humanity and to help them to find common ground. As the newly appointed United States Ambassador to the United Nations, you are committed to restoring alliances. You have spoken out about the importance of multilateralism in addressing the world's problems. You are working to empower and educate women around the world in order to reduce gender-based violence and to open up economic opportunities. You have denounced structural racism and racially motivated violence. That all may know of our great esteem for you and our strong support for your work to improve economic opportunities, to reduce racial and gender-based discrimination and violence, and to ensure equal rights and respect for the dignity of all people around the world, the College of the Holy Cross confers upon you this day the degree of Doctor of Public Service, honoris causa. Please now turn to the video board.
To President Reverend Burrows, incoming President Rougeau, Provost Frigi, distinguished alumni, faculty, and staff, and most importantly, to the College of the Holy Cross class of 2021. Congratulations. You did it. You persevered through lectures, through exams, through midnight breakfasts and battle of the bands, through a pandemic that put so many of those fun traditions on pause, but you made it. Of course, you didn't get here all on your own, and much as this is your day, your achievement is shared by everyone who helped you along the way. So take a moment to thank your supporters, your friends, your families, your partners, your professors, and all the people who showed you love and kindness and made this major milestone possible. And then don't forget to thank yourselves. You have so much to be proud of. And you should be particularly proud to have graduated from an institution that asks you big questions. Questions core to your mission. Questions like, how do we find meaning in life? What are our obligations to one another? What is our special responsibility to the world's poor and powerless? Over 4 years, you have explored these challenging, fundamental questions. And with any luck, you've come up with an answer or two. But now you're faced with a whole new set of questions, like, what's next? Where should I go? How should I lead my life? I'm sure you've picked up a few ideas during your time at Holy Cross. But I thought on this occasion I might pass on a few guiding principles of my own. Lessons I've learned throughout my career that I hope you might find useful as you embark on your own journeys into the world. The first is to look to and call upon your mentors and role models. At the Holy Cross, you've been blessed with plenty of options. Like your president, Father Burrows, who has been such a strong steward and moral compass for this excellent institution for a decade. Or your incoming president, Vincent Rougeau, who will break barriers and serve as the first lay and Black president of Holy Cross. In fact, he will be the first Black president of any American Jesuit college or university in over 100 years, a remarkable achievement that inspires me and should inspire us all. You can also look to your professors or your fellow classmates, or even the distinguished alumni whose ranks you now join. Alumni like the person responsible for my speaking to you today, Ambassador Harry Thomas, who I first met on a commuter bus when he was a mid-level officer. If you don't know him, Ambassador Thomas has served our country around the world and been our ambassador to Zimbabwe, the Philippines, and Bangladesh. And whether he did it intentionally or not, by going into diplomacy, he followed an old Jesuit tradition. In fact, the Jesuits were some of the world's earliest diplomats. Consider a border dispute from 1685. The Russian Empire and the Qing Empire in China can't seem to agree on where one kingdom begins and the other ends. They'd like to decide without going to war, but no one from either side spoke the other's language. So 2 Jesuit priests stepped in. They represented China and negotiated with a Polish man representing Russia. How? The 3 diplomats spoke Latin. Together they used the shared language to preserve peace and brokered the Treaty of Nuremberg. So to those of you who took Latin, perhaps it will come in handy more often than you thought. What's more, the brokering of that treaty leads me to a point I know Holy Cross has made to you too. As you think about the future, I urge you to think about who you want to become rather than what you want to become. Those Jesuits settling the border dispute didn't call themselves diplomats or ambassadors or peacemakers. They called themselves priests. But when they saw they could use their skills to advance peace, it didn't matter what they were, just that they wanted to do good. Who you are and the choices you make, how you choose to use your skills, how you put your values into practice, how you make an impact on the world matter far more than any position or job title. Whenever I speak to recent graduates, I urge them to go into my field, diplomacy. As the pandemic has proven to us beyond a shadow of a doubt, our world is deeply interconnected. So we need ambassadors and advocates for peace and justice, leaders who will seek to understand each other, see our shared challenges, and work toward mutual prosperity. But whatever profession or career path you enter into, remember your job or title or background all matter less than who you choose to be. Of course, it also matters where you are. At Holy Cross, your environment has encouraged you to, according to that Jesuit principle, be men and women for others. To follow that principle as you figure out where your journey will take you next, I would encourage you to go where others need you. And let me explain what I mean by that. When I served in Kenya as a refugee coordinator, I would take trips to an isolated refugee camp in a northern region of the country. It was a long 10-hour drive to get there. Along the way, I would always stop to see an American priest who lived in a very remote village. And when I asked him why he lived in this remote area of Kenya, far away from his friends and families, he explained it was where he felt he could do the most. He wasn't the only person of faith seeking to help that I encountered while I was in Kenya. Around the same time, a group of nuns in Rwanda were trying to spread peace and provide support right after 800,000 people were killed during the 100 Days of Terror. Unfortunately, after helping as many people as they could, they soon found their own lives were in danger. Their gardener warned them that he'd been asked to kill the nuns. He urged them to flee instead. But unfortunately, the nuns weren't allowed to cross the border out of Rwanda. So their order from Paris sent an emissary to me in Kenya asking if the United States could help. Though I didn't know these nuns personally, I was in awe of how they had risked their lives for the greater good and how they had gone where they felt they were needed. So we quickly got to work. We drew up 29 letters, one for each sister, and wrote their names in big italic print. We declared that each of these sisters was well and favorably known to the United States government, and that if they could be allowed to cross the border, we would take it from there. We didn't know if it would work, but it helped to make it all look more official. So we tied the letters together with ribbon and we hot sealed them with red wax. We sent the letters off and crossed our fingers. Fortunately, it worked. The nuns were allowed to go through the border safely. And a few months later, the Reverend Mother gave me this rosary as a thank you. I'm not a Catholic, but I carry it with me always as a reminder of their bravery, of my own commitment to caring for others, and of the value of going where I'm needed. At this moment in history, the world truly does need you. Earlier this month, I met the head of the International Committee of the Red Cross, who had just been in Al-Hol displaced persons camp in war-torn Syria. About 2/3 of the 62,000 people at the sprawling camp are children. Many of them are orphaned and separated from their families. They face constant hunger and dangerous disease, including rampant COVID. Their suffering is a living testament to the brutality and the horror the conflict has inflicted over the past 10 years. The head of the Red Cross told us that this camp was where, in his words, hope goes to die. That broke my heart. I was devastated to think that there could be a place without any hope or happiness. These stark realities are a reminder that we have so much work to do. When our diplomats advocate for increased humanitarian access, coordinate foreign assistance to help those in need, or impose sanctions on individuals committing human rights violations, what we're really doing is working to keep hope alive everywhere we can. And graduates, there's no one better poised to help us with that effort than you. You are the next generation of do-gooders, equipped with all the tools to change the world, to make our world more free, more prosperous, and more secure, and to ensure there are no hopeless corners of our world. That may sound like a heavy burden, but hope doesn't have to be huge. It can be as simple as a hug, or a hot meal, or a smile. Whatever you can do to bring light to somebody's eyes. Class of 2021, I have hope. I have light in my eyes because of you. When I think of your promise, your potential, I swell with pride. With your Holy Cross mentors and role models by your side, I believe you will become men and women for others. I trust you will go where you are needed. And graduates, I know you will keep hope alive. Congratulations again, and good luck.
My name is Noah Sisk, and I'm one of the SGA co-presidents this year.
Good afternoon, everyone. My name is Victoria Terra, and I'm also serving as one of the SGA co-presidents this year.
Father Burrows, today, the class of 2021 wishes you a warm farewell. Your 9-year tenure leaves a transformative legacy that has changed our entire college community for the better. The Holy Cross experience of each and every member of the class of 2021 has been positively impacted in many ways by your leadership. Perhaps the most visible examples of ways in which initiatives undertaken during your time as president to improve our minds, bodies, and spirits can be found in the many profound changes to the physical landscape of Holy Cross in recent history. As first-year students, we arrived on campus to the renovation and expansion of the Hart Center at the Luth Athletic Complex, and were among the first classes to enjoy the Joyce Contemplative Center and all it has to offer. Both of us cherish the moments of reflection, conversations, and visions for our future we made while on retreats at the JCC.
Our class was also among the first classes to enjoy the Joe, and we've been able to witness the tremendous progress made on the new Performing Arts Center since its initial groundbreaking. In addition, the launches of the J.D. Power Center for Liberal Arts in the World and the Chioka Center for Business, Ethics, and Society have shaped our student experiences and have equipped us with the skills and resources for success at Holy Cross and beyond. Under your leadership, we have witnessed the strengthening of these experiential learning programs, academic offerings, diversity, equity, and inclusion, and social justice initiatives, opportunities for service, and our improved relationship with Worcester. This growth has helped students become thoughtful leaders and responsible local and global citizens.
Our graduating class has always known these improvements to be a part of our Holy Cross experience because you have paved the way through your leadership. and we will keep what we've learned as a result of our education with us forever. Father, throughout our 4 years at Holy Cross, we've been inspired by your faith, commitment to every member of our community, and dedication to the values of our Jesuit identity.
It has been our privilege to work with you over this past year, and we appreciate the advice, support, and wisdom you've shared with us as you've guided our entire community through these challenging times. Thank you, Father Burrows, on behalf of ourselves and our graduating class, for your leadership, and we wish you all the best in your next chapter. It is now our honor to present you with this banner to celebrate you and welcome you as an honorary member of the class of 2021.
Let us pray. God of light, God of life, God of love, we invoke your blessing on the Holy Cross class of 2021. Bless their families, their faculty, their formators, and their friends. In this year dedicated to St. Joseph, enlighten them to be wise guardians of their own families. As we commence an Ignatian year, commemorating Ignatius's wounding at Pamplona, inspire them to be contemplatives in action, finding you in all things. Lead them into the world as dedicated servants, confident leaders, conscientious contributors to people most in need, and ambassadors of hope. Send them as stewards of the bounty and fragility of our planet. Guide them to discover your presence in every one they meet. Help them to use their passion in service. Let them discover that they are never alone, that you are by their side as their partner in the journey. Set them on fire with a blaze of compassion. Enkindle in them the zeal for righteousness. We ask all this in the name of Jesus, our Lord.
We are so pleased that we have been able to come together to celebrate the class of 2021. In a moment, our graduates will be recessing from the field into the baseball stadium. And although we are unable to host a post-commencement reception, we encourage you families to meet your graduate at the following locations based on where they live. For graduates living on campus, please meet outside their residence hall. For graduates living in the College Hill neighborhood, please meet at their off-campus apartments. For graduates living at other off-campus locations, please meet in the parking lots. We wish you safe travels and ask that God bless the class of 2021. now please stand as you are able for the alma mater.
Oh, hear thy voices, one in song. Holy Cross, oh, Holy Cross, thy spirit's loyal, true, and strong. Holy Cross, oh, Holy Cross, thy purple banner floats on high, while songs of praise swell to the sky. Thy honored name shall never die. Holy Cross, oh, Holy Cross.